Hello, Milanistas all around the world. How's everyone doing? Hope you guys had a good day. And yeah, even though it's here to talk about the result in a bit, but yeah, we're all happy that everyone's tuning in. And with me here, we have Shane in Nairobi, Kenya, and I'm
Hey,
Husni,
what's up?
and I'm Husni here in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. So Shane, how has your week been in view of the results?
Oh yeah, man. So funny story. For the Fiorentina game, so it kicks off at quarter to 11. So quarter to 11 at night, East Africa time. So the electricity went off uh, midday Saturday, and it was obviously off for the game because why not? So my phone was nearly out of charge, so I went out to the car to quarter 11 at night. I went out to the car to actually watch the game, and I was only charging it for a few minutes. And then I was like, okay, I'll start the car to make sure I haven't drained the battery. And I drained the battery. So then I had to jump. So not only did I get, lose a couple of hours sleep for a really tragic performance, which we'll discuss in a bit, I also had to jump start my car. So doubly screw you, Fiorentina. Seriously, guys.
So I guess that
Anyway,
means a
yeah.
big shout out to Shane. I mean, look at the effort of the Milan fans all around the world. For me, I thought I had it bad, having to wake up at 3:30 in the morning to watch that performance. But you never know. It's always someone who's having a much tougher time. But yeah, that's dedication right there. Nothing else can be said. So
That's it,
Shane,
man.
let's get right into it. Let's talk about the Fiorentina game and how pissed off should we be as Milan fans? And especially you watching it in the car with the battery that died. Let's give us a rundown.
Yeah, man.
What do you think? What do you think happened?
S- So I don't know what it is about Fiorentina, right? Because they can't score against anyone but us, right? It's like it's absolutely crazy. I mean, the stats speak for themselves, right? The possession was relatively even, which is surprising because to me it was like Fiorentina had the ball most of the game. Um, Shots on target, that speaks volumes, though. Fiorentina, who are really struggling for goals this season, had 16 shots and eight of them on target versus our eight shots and six on target. I mean, this is just it's just awful game. Obviously, R.I.P. Davide Story. That was it's quite moving to see them stop. Was it stop at the 13th minute? He
Yeah,
was number
on a short
13,
number.
wasn't he?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and they stopped for at the 13 minutes, so that was quite nice. But I'd love to be able to tell you that we could blame it on something that wasn't Milan related, like maybe there was a slightly over biased referee. Now the thing is, you can't even complain about there being a biased referee because the referee got lots of things wrong on both sides.
He tried to give us
Like,
a penalty. Don't forget that.
no, he did, but even that was kind of a really, uh, like, and then just there's a couple of calls that just made no sense. Um, the one on, and we're going to speak about this in a minute about a player that I'm very annoyed at, especially at this game. But yeah, just there was a couple of big moments. The referee just it's kind of like he nearly most of the calls that I seen him make, he actually made it the completely opposite way that he should have, that he should have called it. Except for the penalty for Fiorentina, which was a legitimate penalty. No, no,
Really?
no
Okay.
cams there. I think
Let's
so.
discuss that a bit because that penalty has similarities with what happened against Chelsea in San Siro. So same player, same player from behind couldn't get ahead of his man, and I'm starting to really to doubt Tomori's speed. I think he doesn't have it. Maybe he's just a younger version of Kier. If you look at that sort of performance, but in the game against Chelsea, he got a red card for that because
Yep,
who was it? Mason Mount was the last man or judged to be last
yep.
man. In this game, Ikone, could you say he's the last man? And do you see any similarities, or should the decision have been different?
I can definitely see the similarities, and if that's outside the box, it's a foul.
Okay. But
So inside the box, when the guy is looking to get an advantage, he's obviously going to throw himself down. I don't even think Akone did, to be honest. No, there was a bit that kind of said, okay, Tamori did get the ball, but he also got the man. And it's a very brave slash stupid decision to be diving, when you're actually behind the ball and behind the player. Um, so yeah, it's just not good. I like very disappointing. It's
let's look
like, do you not
into that
learn?
incident. Yeah, I just want to read. I
Yeah,
mean, because I watched the replay a few times, and Tomori, yes, from behind, there was contact, no doubt about it. His hand was on Ikone's shoulder, but the thing that I'm particularly focused on is that in front of Ikone was actually Tiao.
yeah,
So had
that was it. Yeah,
Tomori let him go, or not say let him go, but just put him under slight pressure without that much contact, I think Tiao would have been able to cut Ikone off. That could have
yeah,
been a scenario. Because if you look at it in the context of the game, beyond that goal, there were large spells that we weren't doing that bad. It wasn't great by any means, but we weren't doing that bad. And in a game where you're chasing it, and purely made a lot of substitution, which I thought is the with the wrong at the wrong time. The result could have been different, but then yeah, we're talking about ifs and buts. Anything could have happened. But you're right, a mistake was made, cost us a
if
goal.
if we had a right wing, if we had a right winger that could finish a header,
Yeah.
would have gotten another assist.
No, but let's talk about all the other chances that didn't find the back of the net. Theo had a good chance, straight at the keeper. Giroud had a header straight at the keeper. Rebic had a shot on target, didn't put any power on it. It's as if he doesn't want to play. And we'll speak about Rebic in a bit. Zlatan, I thought, had a very good chance towards the end. Again, very soft. So we weren't short on chances. It's just that we weren't clinical. And if you look at the context, had we kept a clean sheet, Theo's goal would have been enough. We would have got 3 points. And that's what happened last season. We won games 1-0. That odd goal
And
outside the box, didn't expect it.
it's not like we're talking about keeping a clean sheet against Inter or let's say Lazio or Napoli or someone. It's like this is literally Fiorentina, who are, I mean, the whole reason they're where they are in the league is because they can't score a goal. You know, like it's just very disappointing, especially to bring this into, which we'll cover in a bit, especially to bring it into the Spurs game. It's very disappointing.
And don't you find
Man,
it a little bit ironic that the player that we were linked to for so many seasons, Luka Jovic, is the one who kills off the game with a header? And he's not the tallest guy on the field, by the way, but he got a good header as soon as he came on. That was his first touch, and he managed to score the second goal. So
yeah,
what can
yeah.
you say? It's a story of Milan. I mean, no one expects us to win like 38 out of 38 games, but we've lost so many games that these 3 points really make a difference if we want to talk about top four. Because let's face it,
And we're
the
three
trophy is beyond
points
this.
behind Inter.
Yeah,
And the worst thing is if Juve, right, if something magic happens and Juve get their point reduction completely overturned, right, which why not? It's Italy, right? They'll be above us in the table.
and then it comes back to what we were talking about at the beginning of the season. If we don't make top four, big changes have to be made definitely because that affects our revenue. But the second thing, you have to start questioning the project because a lot of strange things are happening. And during the game, we saw Bakayoko again, surprisingly, yeah. So he played a lot longer. He wasn't great by any stretch of imagination, but we have other midfielders that were sitting on the bench. You could
That we
say
actually
players,
own,
yeah, we actually own,
that have a future at the club. Yeah,
yeah,
I know.
and they have much more talent. And the guy that we have been, not say we as in only the fans or those watching us have been saying, but so many people, pundits included, have been saying that Bakuyoko's practically done at the club, and they've been saying this for a while. But purely in his wisdom, decides to put him on. So you really have to ask questions, and this you don't have to wait until the end of the season and see where we're at. This is the trajectory. We can string together those clean sheets, those 1-0 or what is it 2-0 wins, fine. but we're so far behind and we're such in a precarious position. These sort of games, looking back, if we don't make top four, these are the games that you wonder that, oh, had we done something slightly different, those 3 points would have taken us across the line and would have been okay, not too bad. I mean, what more can you say? It's on Pioli. Yeah, this is me talking. It's on Pioli.
I think so. Partially, right? There is a huge. So it's a shared responsibility, though. I think so, especially games like this. I think that what's on Pioli is more the. I think the delay in changing formation.
Yep.
I think that's definitely on him. So obviously, some of these, I mean, let's say, highlighting Chow, highlighting Adley. So some of his, as you said, quite a lot of the time, there seems to be this kind of expectation on players that it takes them about 6 months to a year to learn the system, and it's like, you're not Pep. It can't be this difficult. Like so, and there's an argument to be said. I mean, if Kier was fully fit, and if Tomori wasn't, well, probably as likely to get suspended as he seems to be now, because he's just making stupid tackles. Would we've even seen Chow? So it's like at some points, I think Maldini and Massara kind of have to basically say to Pioli, look, we're buying these players for you to play them, to increase the revenue, and either they become stars for us or we sell them. And Pioli's kind of failing a bit on that. So, I mean, but it's like you said, I mean, anywhere outside of the top four is a complete failure, like this year. And it's going to be Pioli's head will roll, but which is unfortunate because he did get us the Scudetto, but I can understand why, why his head would roll. So,
yeah, there's another one player that I want to ask your opinion on, and that is Ante Rebic, a player that I've seen in person live. I was there at the hotel in Riyadh when fans asked to take pictures with him, and he was being a complete asshole. So now, if you see that performance that Rebic put on, what do you think is his future at the club, if he even has one? Because you saw it, it's like night and day with Rebic and Liao, and not too long ago, Rebic, you could say, is would have been preferred over Liao. There's only 2 seasons ago that Rebic would have started over Liao any day. Look how far has he fallen. He contributes nothing. He's always dancing in the box, trying to lay it off to someone else, surrounded easily, weak shot on goal. Why do we still have such players at the club? And I know it's mid-season and the window's closed, but don't tell me he's the only option that we have on left wing. Have we tried CDK on the left? Can we try Adley there? There are options. It's not to say we don't have players, but Pioli decides to stick with Rebic, and that's the output. 0 goals, 0 assists. He could have even cost us a goal early on in the first half, but luckily that was I think they overshot that one. So what do you think of Rebic? I mean, are you done? Because I am. Really, I'm done with this guy.
Yeah, we're at a bit of a weird stage, and I think kind of what's happening is for years, Milan kind of had to beg players to stay with them, and I think that kind of the saying familiarity breeds contempt. So it's kind of like, well, they were good enough to stay with us, coming out of the banter era, but now I think things are kind of moving on, and I think there's going to be a lower patience threshold, and I think the axe is going to fall very heavily on quite a few players this summer.
Okay.
So as we'll discuss in a bit, I just think we're kind of at the stage now where we know that we can't afford the likes of Rebic's salary in terms of output that he gives us. So he has to be sold. I mean, I just say enjoy the Bundesliga. That's probably where he's going back to. So, yeah, shame, but I mean, mean, look, in terms of output, yeah. Because the thing is, it's a shame because we know he's a very temperamental player, and we know he's definitely got it in his locker to create great moments and great goals. But what you also have at Rebic is he's very temperamental, and we're seeing the worst of this now. It's kind of like we have a player who's his head isn't really in the game. He doesn't care, but that's fine. But we can't be paying someone his salary to do that. Not when we can potentially get in a kid for roughly the same price at 18 or 19 that we might potentially get for Rebic, and then maybe chance them, and hope they have a bit of hunger or desire, because it's whatever the hell is wrong with Rebic, he doesn't have it anymore, and it's a shame. But it's time to move on.
Indeed. But there's one thing I wanted to ask you, and there were a lot of negatives coming out from the game. But do you think there was at least one positive or one thing that you thought was okay? Yeah, this is something that I'm impressed or I'm happy about. Can you pick anything up?
This is a really tough one. So the only two bits that come to mind is I like CDK's potential assist, but it went to Messias. I like that. That was great. The vision was great. I love that. Well, we're going to discuss in a bit, but Adley's pass was beautiful near the end. Maignan again did really well to keep Fiorentina as low scoring, which is very embarrassing. But he did. Maignan did really well. Outside of that, I mean, yeah, Theo came up with a goal, which is great. I mean, this is why he's the player that he is. I think more worryingly though, it's I think Tonali is just wrecked. I just think he's very tired. He's very fatigued. Um, he's not the same player that he was last season. Just because I think of the fatigue, and it's a shame.
Yep.
It's a real shame. So
I completely agree with you, and
hope,
especially when it comes to Adley, and I just want to point out that his contribution and what led to that goal, had he played longer, do you think a lot more could have happened? Because he wasn't bad, yeah, and at worst he was playing the same level as CDK, which because it doesn't exactly put him in the out of favor, or he shouldn't be treated the way he's treated. But there's a lot more to him, and I don't understand why Pioli treats him the way he does. It's so Hauger. It's so reminding me of Hauger. What more do you want the kid to do? And don't tell me that he's not as good or not doing well in training as Bakayoko, because Bakayoko's getting minutes. So I I just don't get it. These are the nonsensical decisions that be made by Pioli, and we'll have to stick with it because we don't really have a choice. But then, yeah, I agree with you about Manyan. What Manyan did, yeah, definitely helped, and it's good to see him back. Not to say that Tato Shanu was as bad as everyone makes him out to be, but Manyan definitely, yeah, it's it's a
yeah.
different world with him.
Tomori doesn't have anyone to scream at now.
It's all on him.
He doesn't have anyone to scream at now. It's all on him now, and now we're seeing the results of it.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to our next segment, and let's just put this. Yeah, the picture we have here on screen is Jeffrey Moncada. So I don't think it's official yet, but it seems that the rumors are pointing towards his renewal. Chief scout for the club. He's been with us for quite a while. I think ever since he left Monaco, and the one really driving our transfer targets. You could say maybe the short list. Of course, it's at the end of the day, it's up to Maldini and Massara to really pull the trigger on which players that they want to go out and get if they are available at the end of the day. Because what stats you run on paper is different if you speak to the agents and to the clubs. But how do you feel about him staying, and what do you think can be improved? Because it seems that he's targeting a particular market. That's no secret. And we've had quite a bit of success, no doubt about it. But do you think anything can be improved? Because we other options other than France, shopping in France or Belgium now.
Oh, we do, but remember as well, I'm sure it was him that recommended Fernandez.
Yeah.
And it was, so I think there is I can understand why people kind of think, well, okay, so, he's only good for getting players out of France. But there's been I mean, there's been other players that he's kind of bought in. I mean, even wasn't Hernandez mentioned specifically by Mancada, and he was from Spain. So, or he's from Real Madrid. So, I mean,
But he's French.
there is.
The
That's
French
true,
connection will
actually. Yeah,
always be there.
that's true. That's true. So, yeah, I think if we're going this route of trying not to spend crazy money on transfers that we don't have, I think, yeah, he's definitely the guy that we need, right? Because, I mean, if if he can get us an 18, 19, 20-year-old for 10 million, that, let's just say, we might be able to turn around and sell for 100 million.
If he doesn't leave on
That's
free.
what we need. If he doesn't leave on free, yeah, that's very true. But, I think it's great for the club. I really hope it comes to pass, because I'm more excited for his renewal than I am for even Leao, because this guy can potentially get us another Leao. Whereas if he goes and if Leao goes, we might be digging quite a while,
No, but
to try and
on
find
that
someone that
point,
can get.
the talent that Liao has is, of course, undeniable. But there's two sides of that, yeah. So in the case of Liao, one is, of course, identifying the talent. The second one is developing the talent, and that's why people talk about giving players time and all that. But if we have a system that I think that we have, it does not benefit the youth that much, in my opinion. We have players that, yes, are talents that have developed a lot because they were played out of necessity, and I'm pointing to Kalulu being one of them. Yeah, always touted as the example of, yes, he's now what worth 50 million. We only got him for 500,000. But had Gabia not been injured in that game, Kalulu, I don't think would have got a chance. Same thing like Chow. If
Mm.
Chia was, you could say, on a decent level but still letting in goals, would we have seen Chow? Because just up one position, which is in midfield, As the Ranks is not getting much game time. I don't understand the system. Moncada's picking out the targets, Maldini and Massara spending their time trying to get good deals, gives them to Pioli, and 6 months riding the bench. Minimum 6 months riding the bench. We're losing games in sequence, and Pioli's still not waking up. I don't get it. Simply put, I just don't get it. So I agree with you, Shane. It definitely is important to put the
Yeah,
front row. But at the tail end, we have a problem.
we do, and it's kind of like you said, he's finding his. It's like, as Pioli could take, some bit of credit for, it's like, oh, bringing on Hernandez or bringing on Leao, but it's like you said. I mean, Hernandez, not so much. He was pretty much a guaranteed starter. But in the context of Leao, the only reason we've seen Leao is because Rebic got injured.
Yeah. But
So
Rebic
it's
is
like,
doing well for us. So, I mean, when Rebic
yeah,
went down, I remember like a lot of fans, even for myself, yeah, I was worried because Liao
mm,
was inconsistent at that point. But not entirely his
mm,
fault. I never blamed Liao. And I've been on record about this because he was played out of position a lot, really a lot. He was
mm.
tried as a center forward. He was tried on the right wing. He was tried as a number 10, even, if you guys remember that game. So it's strange.
That's it. That's it. So long live Moncada. Please sign that damn contract, because you are badly needed at this club.
Indeed. So yeah, this is a slide that Shane helped to put together. So this is yeah, when you take us through this, Shane, it's quite interesting.
Yeah. So the idea behind this slide, essentially, I say, is I'm in a rush to bring it up. Here we go. Yeah. So this slide, right, is everyone basically saying that we are completely broke and we have no money to go on the transfer market with, right? So that is true if you don't factor in the players that we can sell. And I think, feel free to reach out, comment, tweet at me, telling me how much of an idiot I am, whatever. Um, at Milanistas360. Thank you. There's the plug. So I have added Tomori to this list. My
Okay.
connection. No. So yeah, I've added Tomori to this list.
That's okay. We can
Sorry.
hear you. Shane. Yeah, go ahead.
You can, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry. So I've added Tomori to this list, right? Just because of his value versus what we're getting from him. And this isn't reactionary because of the Fiorentina game. This is literally looking at the most of this season and saying, if we can get 50 million for this guy, we might want to check that in, right? So Pobega is barely featuring 18 million, right? These are based on valuations from Transfer Market. Okay, so it could be a bit more, a bit less, whatever. But this is just the transfermarket.com valuations. Rebic, 13 million. Origi valued at 10 million, which is crazy. Gabbia, 7 million. Messias, 6 million. Ballatore, 3.5 million. That comes to a total of 107.5 million euros, right? Let alone the savings in wages that we could make by sacrificing these players. And I don't really see a huge drop in the overall squad, the rating of the squad if all of these players went.
Even to know
So
the
107 and
even though the
yeah.
kicker of the total that you just mentioned, you add in 100 million for Liao, and we could already get Mbappe.
I know. No, but if you think about it, right? So we know what direction we're going. We're getting younger players, maybe with a mix of experienced talent, if we can get it, right? Like Giroud, for example. But if we know that we're going for young players, right? You're not telling me that 107.5 million couldn't fill at least 4 roles, like problematic
A lot of
roles for us.
quality. Yeah. So
Like,
yeah, you just
you know,
mentioned a good number there. Yeah. So 107 million. If we talk about 4 players, about what? Slightly over 25 million. How much did
yeah,
we get Tomori for? We got him for 25.
yeah, we did.
So around that range, we're not getting the best, but we're getting decent. We're getting players who can start, who can really help out the team. So yeah, I agree with you. But of course, 50 million for Tomori. I know you took it off transfer market, but I think for an English player, it's a bit low.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, if you just basically, start sending his name around to like the likes of, I don't know, Leeds or Bournemouth or, all of these clubs that have great projects in the Premier League that are basically trying to, just not get relegated, right? If they stay above the relegation zone, right, they're going to have 60, 70 million, I bet, or someone in that Premier League is going to have 60, 70 million to,
Or even
take a
back to
punt on
Chelsea. Don't
Tomori.
forget that. That's an option.
So, well, this is it. I mean, geez, you'd need to be afraid to walk outside the front door these days in case Todd Bowley buys you. That's how bad it's gone. So, yeah.
But let's run through some of these names. I just want to pick up the, Pobega, Gabbia. Yeah, 2 of them. So these are Primavera players, and we need them for the list. But I want to pose a question to you, yeah, and because these are Italian players, and if you look at this our starting lineup, Tonali is the only Italian in our starting lineup. So
This
what
is
does
true.
this say about an Italian coach, Italian management? Somehow we can't seem to get Italians to really shine. And so we
I
have to
think
go.
it's
Sorry, go ahead.
so it's I think it's more it's not as much getting Italians to shine, it's more so what can we afford.
True, but if you go dig it a little deeper, we have a Primavera, and our Primavera is not bad, by the way. Yeah, so yes,
True.
the season, I think not last season, but maybe the season before last, complete disaster. But we got kids that are not bad. So in the case of Kobis, I think Kobis is Romanian though, but he might qualify as a youth product. So I don't know how that works. We have options there, but again, from the Primavera to our first team and the way that Pioli manages it, maybe it would just be just as bad in the sense that they won't get any minutes, even though they're doing well in Primavera.
That's
But
it. But the thing is, they can come out of the Primavera, right? But if it takes them like 10 years to learn Pioli's system, right? Like they're probably getting sold on when they're 27 for like 2 million.
yeah, and then maybe they go to
No,
Juve, and
it's,
then
yeah.
sorry, they go to like Fiorentina or Sassuolo, and they'll flip them to Juve for 50. So hint, hint, Locatelli. That's what happened. I mean, we
That's
make
it.
those mistakes all the
That's it.
time. But there's one player here two players here that maybe you might be slightly harsh because they have contributed. One is Origi, 2 goals. I know they're not match winners, but fine, 2 goals. And Messias, I think he scored which game was it recently that he scored that solitary goal?
Oh, was it Monza?
I think so,
No.
maybe. Yeah, Monza. It's a 1-0, yeah.
Yeah, it was Monza, wasn't it? Yeah. Oh, I know I'm being harsh, but what I'm saying is, in terms of, this isn't like me knocking these players. This is literally to try and increase the overall, like,
Quality, I
the
know. Yeah.
potential at the quality of the squad. It's and I'm saying, if we could get 6 million for Messi, yes. To be honest, I don't think they'd even sell it, because the way they're looking at it is like, well, we paid 5.5 for him.
Yeah.
So, maybe they might be expecting he becomes a 10 million player. I don't know, but yeah. Also, RIP my internet connection. Sorry, guys, it's a bit shy today.
No problem. I think
Yeah, but
for our last part, yeah, because I think you have to. The internet also maybe you gotta go soon. We will speak about the Spurs game. So yeah, we don't have a slide about the Spurs game, but just more of a open discussion in terms of. It's tonight, by the way. Yeah, so this is something to be hyped up about. It's for the quarterfinals. So we're leading
is it
1-0.
not Wednesday night?
I thought it was
Is
tonight.
it? Oh man, wait.
Yeah.
Have I screwed up?
Is either I screwed up? Or you
This is
screwed
how
up?
excited I'm not. No, it's tomorrow night.
Okay, my bad. So about one more
Yeah.
night. So I guess you could treat this as a bit of a preview.
Yeah, we've
So,
one more night in the Champions League. It's great.
but in terms of the revenue, yeah, not coming to us, but we made our money in the 9 million. But yeah, what are your expectations for that game? Because it's going to be big, yeah? We're leading it for a long time. I haven't had this feeling that we're going into a second leg leading it, even though it's by just a goal. But that goal could be enough if we somehow manage to pull this off. Because Tottenham, let's face it, they're not that great. And they lost on the same day that we lost as well. So yeah, chances are there. It's fairly even. Just don't get smashed and we'll make it into the quarterfinals.
Yeah,
What
like
do you think?
I think it's going to be interesting, because keep in mind the away goal is no longer a thing. So I mean, could go either way really. I just like, what I don't want to see is, even if we don't qualify tomorrow night, right? Even if we don't, what I don't want to see is, I don't want to see complete capitulation, like a 3-0 or something like that, because that's just very embarrassing. And we've embarrassed ourselves already against Chelsea. So yeah, I don't have a good feeling about it, because I just think I don't follow the EPL, but I just cannot believe that Spurs can be as bad as they were in the first game.
Yeah, well, if they lost, I don't know who they played in the weekend. They lost that game.
Yeah, but so did we.
Yeah.
Like,
So
you
could say in terms of the results, it's pretty even. But
Hmm.
do you think we have what it takes to really at least equalize to take us into the quarterfinals? They lost against
I
Wolves
think so.
by a
And
goal.
lost against Wolves.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's Wolves are an alright squad from all accounts. But um, do we have it? I think we do. I think we do. Like, what's interesting to me is if we do make it, right? I mean,
Because we have Liao back.
Exactly. So if we make it and we get into the quarters, if we got like a quote unquote easy draw,
Mm-hmm.
not that there is one this late into the competition. But let's say maybe we got, I don't know, are any of the Portuguese teams left? I think maybe Benfica.
Maybe, but I'm not sure they're gonna make it through. Let me check that quickly.
Because I mean, if we got some like quote unquote easy opposition and we found ourselves in the semi-finals, that is still a great achievement.
if you ask me, if we made it to the semifinals, we should seriously be thinking about trying to go for the win. I know it's a long
No,
shot.
no, I know. And then if something crazy happened and we got through to the final and we won it, then, you know, honestly, everything I've ever said about Stefano Pioli is just completely wrong. He deserves
Someone's gonna
it.
clip it.
Forget being like the mayor of Milan. He should become like the president of Italy. I think that's what he should do. If he gets to stay Champions League, I think that's what he needs.
Against all odds. I mean, that's be bigger than the Leicester story. I can tell you that. But
Man, I tell you.
let's look at the teams that are left or leading. So we have Bayern leading, Dortmund, Benfica, as you've mentioned. Well, it's a toss up, but I think Man City is going to pull through. Inter leading Porto, but I don't know if Porto's got some magic up their sleeve. Real Madrid, of course, I don't want to face them at all. And yeah, Napoli. So, I mean, for us, if we manage to get all the Italian teams up into the next round, that does a lot. That does well for the coefficient, because that's also one thing that I'm a little bit worried about, is that Italian teams not been making it far. So I hope it doesn't come to a point whereby we only have 3 UCL spots, because that would be
I know.
very worrying.
I was like, how then do we qualify? You know, it's
Exactly.
like it's like 4 places saving us at the moment. No, yeah, that's a fair point about the coefficient. It would be interesting to see as well, though. You know, it's kind of like you said. I mean, I, I don't think Napoli can win this thing, the Champions League. I don't. I think their great their record, as great as it's been in the Serie A, I think is more. That tells you quite a lot about maybe the overall quality of the Serie A, as more so than it does just how good Napoli actually are. Which is a very painful thing to say, but I think, I don't put it this way. So last team to go unbeaten in the Serie A was Milan, right?
Yeah.
So they did that, and they did that with probably the greatest team to ever play football in
True.
a very competitive league. They did that with like Franco Baresi, Costacurta, Maldini, Tassati, right? They did it with all these amazing players, right?
Some would
Um,
argue maybe Calciopoli was in full swing even by then.
I don't even think it was needed. Like, because even Berlusconi, just bought, he was like Todd Bowley version 1 back then. But yeah, so like you're not telling me that. So even if Napoli, obviously they can't now, but if they did even go the full way and went an unbeaten season, you can't really compare this Napoli team to that Milan team. You just can't.
Yeah.
So the drop in quality is evident. Also, I think it's a bit alarming for me. And I'm not just saying this because I'm a Milan fan and I'm kind of upset because it's not like we're anywhere close to them. If Napoli win this league, be the first to say they really deserve a congratulations, and it's great for the fans, and I'd be delighted for the Napoli fans to win it. But that being said, though, I don't think this Napoli squad is 15 points better than everyone else.
True,
I just
but they have
think
been.
they've been consistent. All right, yeah, they have.
Yeah. And a good amount of luck, because some of the goals that they scored, I mean, you wouldn't have expected it. I'm just thinking the one against Roma, that one where he put it against Smalling. I thought that was a bit of a fluke. But this is football. Things happen. We've also come away with some strange decisions. I may go into too many details about that, but because we won Scudetto last season, but yeah, people were questioning some of our calls. But what can you say? It's
Well,
skill,
like,
performance, and also a little bit of luck.
true, but what I'd be interested to see is, I know De Laurentiis kind of talks a lot about, from all reports that I've read, he handles Napoli very well in terms of finances, right? So, he's kind of stated multiple times that we don't need to sell anyone. Well, here comes the acid test. So if Napoli, let's say they win the league this season, and kudos to them if they do. Forget De Laurentiis not wanting to sell anyone. If a offer comes in from Chelsea and they tell Osimhen, we will double your salary.
I think Osimhen has
You know,
gone on record to actually say that he aspires to play in the Premier League one day. So the
I
hints are
know,
there.
and that's really bad. Like I seen that today, and I was like, you can literally say that, right? Be smart. Say that in the summer, where if you've wrapped up the league, right, and you say, all right, guys, look, I think my time is done. I want to go to the Premier League, or oh, I'd like to play in the Premier League. You don't say that midway through a season where you can win the league and be like a
Now, let's
cult
face it, they've
hero for
already
your
won it.
fans.
I mean, can anyone really catch them? I don't think so.
Well, look, I mean, it's only over when it's numerically possible,
Yeah, yeah.
right? But I mean, it's unlikely. But even so, I just think it's very questionable timing that he's coming out kind of saying that now. It's like you can literally say the same thing. You know what? If he came out at the end of the season, right, after doing his part in guiding Napoli to the Serie A, right? If he comes out and he says, "Listen, I want to move on," I don't think the Napoli, they're not going to blame him. They're going to say, "Oh, okay, well, thank you, because he gave us, he gave us the Serie A title." You don't say this midway through a season. Like
But you don't know
that's
what goes on behind the scenes, because for a message to go out like that, maybe he's made a deal with who
Chelsea
is
or
it?
someone.
Lotito, is it? Who is I don't know who it is for Napoli. Uh, that if they do win it, maybe they'll monetize him. Because if I'm not mistaken, I think Napoli is also under some sort of investigation for inflating values. I think.
Yeah, but I think yeah. So this is always a very dangerous one. I mean, the thing is this it's quite funny. I think because like if they try and come after Milan for that same thing, it's like, well, we'd actually have to sell someone first. Like
We'd have to pay a bomb. We
we'd
have to pay
actually
something.
yeah, but actually it's like we'd actually have to receive money for our players, not just let them go on a free. So what are they inflating the value of? Zero.
Maybe they should give
So
us points for that.
yeah, like, well, do you know? I'll tell you what. They should just get. They should have. They should have gave us. They should have gave us Juventus's like 15 points, just to be nice. That's what they should have
Yeah,
done.
but what would we do with it? If we had those 15
We'll
points? Come
probably
on.
still finish fourth. Probably still finish fourth, but still, at least we're in the Champions League. But yeah, I know, man. Yeah, it's interesting. And again, though, just to go on record, like it's really hard not to like not to want to see. Obviously, the first priority be to see Milan win the Serie A always, right? But when you get a team not necessarily coming out of nowhere, but when you get like a team who maybe wasn't favoured, you know, and they're coming up and they're playing well, they're doing it with young talent, unknown talent for the most part. It's really hard to fault them. And yeah, I really hope it works out well for them. I hope it works out well for Osimhen, hopefully in the Premier League, because then he won't be scoring on us when he plays us, and that'll be a bit
Indeed,
easier.
yeah.
But when we have to play him at Napoli twice a year, or sometimes 4 times a year, if it's the Copa. But yeah, man, I hope it works out well, and let's hope it's just the one season. And if we can buy smart this summer window, there's nothing to say that we can't do the same thing. Because I mean, if you think about it, Juve, that story still isn't written yet, so no one knows how bad or how little they're going to get punished.
Yeah,
So that
the jury's still out on that one. And
jury's still out in that, so that could take Juve out the equation next season. Inter just broke. Like they're just I'm surprised. I'm surprised when I see the electricity on in the San Siro at an Inter home game. It's like I don't know how they afford it at this point.
well, soon they'll have to cycle to the training ground. There won't be the fuel on
That's it.
the team bus.
That's that's it. That's it. They probably have to like sell Onana just to be able to afford a team bus next year. But yeah. So Inter aren't having a good time of it. Lazio and Roma. Look, no offense, but you know, it's Lazio and Roma. I mean, you know, that's all I can really say. You wouldn't really judge them as serious contenders. Um, And then, yeah, that kind of just leaves really, yeah, Juve. So obviously we've talked about it. We don't know how severe or how little they're going to get punished. But if they get a far more severe punishment, they might be out the equation. And if Napoli then end up maybe having to sell one or two or maybe three of their new players because the players kind of say, oh, I actually see myself in playing for in playing in the Premier League or playing wherever XYZ will give me more money, that's another rebuild process. So, I mean,
Yeah, but
next year
if we
could be
see the
relatively
picks
easy for us.
that Napoli makes, I think their scouting department may be just as good, if not better, based on what they've done this season.
I think they were very lucky.
Yeah,
I
lucky one thing,
think
but if they can keep being
uh,
lucky, then it's going to be a problem for the rest of us.
true, but like there was more than just Napoli looking at the likes of Kvaratskhelia.
Yeah,
Well,
even we were in for him, but apparently we didn't
that's
bother to
it.
pull the trigger, which
No,
is
because we realized he cost money. They were like,
yeah.
what? No dry loan? What? Uh, yeah, man. It's just it's unfortunate, but you see, I don't think so. I don't. I think Napoli, and credit to them because I'm not dismissing their achievements thus far this season. It's been great to watch them. Been a very exciting squad. But you could do this 99 times out of 100 and you will fail. You will, if you let your established players go and you replace them with young talent, 99 times out of 100, it will work nowhere near as well as it has worked with Napoli. So yes, they deserve credit, but I just think they were more lucky than anything. I don't see any longevity in it. They're not going to be winning the Serie A for the next 5 years because I think that the team will be broken up. So, which in a way, I mean, it's good. Give the league title to Napoli. It means that our cross city cousins can't get their yeah, our cross city cousins can't get their broke hands on a title before we do to make it 2 stars. So that'd be quite nice. And then we can go again with hopefully some wise decisions in the transfer market.
Well, we'll have to pray that Mr. Signore Cardinale wakes up from his stingy slumber and he stops just looking at the stadium photos and
I
instead
know.
looks at the team.
So do you think that they're going to go ahead and build it on their own?
I think it's leading towards that. I mean, I've been speculating that since the beginning because this shared stadium, I think, is not a sign of the future because they're comparing it to other stadiums around the world. And if you talk about the real club, and we think of ourselves and we see ourselves as a big club, you don't share a stadium.
No, you don't. No, you don't.
And I think
You
in
don't.
the
Yeah.
I don't know how it is in America, but I think also they don't share stadiums over there. They find ways to monetize, because for us it's about we share San Siro, so we only split the cost down the middle. But we don't have to split the cost down the middle. We just have to find revenue to cover up for the other half. So that's the approach that I think Cardinal is favoring,
Yeah.
and I'm fully supportive because we're a club and we should have our own home. No one likes to share the half the room, half the bedroom with your neighbor, right?
Yeah.
Especially a neighbor that you
Well,
hate.
yeah, you see, this is it. And then I think where Inter were kind of definitely caught out. I don't think Inter seen this coming that we were going off on our own.
No,
Because
I
I
think
think
on some level they expected it as well. I mean, they got a plan for this at least. They can't be
well,
completely
I
blind.
don't I don't think it's a coincidence that a couple like literally less than a week after we said right, we're probably just gonna go on our own. There was newspaper reports basically saying that yeah, Inter have already designated an area where they're going to build our stadium. It's like, right, how are you going to pay for it? Who's going to give you money? You literally you have a junk status. Um, so like you're literally no one wants to, having anything to do with the club is it has the entity has junk status, so no investors want to touch it. So you're telling me that someone wants to buy a club that's, what is it, 400 million in debt?
Yeah, and I think they're asking for.
So
They're not asking for that much. I think they're asking for even less than $1 billion.
well, they couldn't get it, because if you think
Yeah.
about it, right, it's like, what are you doing? You're like, whatever you're buying the club for, you know that you're 400 million in the hole already.
Yeah, but we know that there are investors there that have so much money they don't care that much. If you know what I mean. So InvestCorp might be coming around for another, another pass at Serie A, and that will be a problem if InvestCorp comes, either out of
It
anger or
depends. It depends in the long and the short run. So the thing is because we've all seen, so there's two ways to run a club. You can either run it like the likes of Bayern Munich, that are very structured. It's managed very well. More often than not, they're in contention. Well, I know the league is a different standard. To be honest, I know the German league isn't that competitive, but even on the Champions League, Bayern Munich,
yep, they get
you
the
can
job
never
done.
write
Yeah.
them off. They get the job done. It's a ridiculously well managed, well run club, right? So that isn't done with a huge amount of money, like compared to the other European heavyweights, right? Then you can compare, let's say, Bayern Munich then to PSG. Similar situation. The league isn't super competitive. It's literally just like, PSG, and maybe the odd couple of surprises every now and then. But rich beyond can literally, true potential acts of financial fraud. Just joking. They can afford to sign players like Mbappe, despite playing in probably one of the least prestigious of the top leagues in Europe. No one blinks an eyelid. They can afford to pay Messi's wages. Again, no one blinks an eyelid. Because it's, everyone buys PSG shirts. I don't know anyone that has a PSG shirt. I don't know anyone who sports
Oh, you haven't
PSG.
been to this part of the world.
Really?
They do.
Okay. Well, that must be a new thing then, because literally, I mean, what are you doing when you buy? If to become a PSG supporter, right? It's literally like saying, I am supporting this club because they are rich. That's it.
No, it's
That's
they
it. You
built
can.
a machine around the club that is the marketing machine. So, yes,
Mm,
PSG is a football club, but I think they've rebranded it being that this is the team of Paris. So the people that I know that have bought PSG shirts, they treat it as a souvenir whenever they go to France or to Paris. So it's not about
oh, okay.
supporting the club. So I think this is where they've been quite successful,
I
especially
see
with
that, because I mean,
with the
they couldn't
Jordan
brand
market.
themselves as being a European superpower because they haven't
Yeah.
won the Champions League. And this is the key thing. So I think, like, so it depends on if InvestCorp did decide to come in, using that example, right? It's like, do you go for the Bayern Munich approach, which they won't? They'll just throw money at it and they become PSG, and that's fine. But we're seeing that kind of approach now start to fall apart, because I mean, look at the likes of Man City in the Premier League. Fair enough, they dominated their domestic league for X amount of time. Now there's other teams catching up with them, that are run on far less of a budget. PSG, look, because of maybe the complete lack of what's the term? Because there's just no other team that can kind of match PSG, in terms of even trying to get talent, right? You know, I mean, they're dominating their domestic league, but they're not doing anything in Europe, just like Man City. So,
Well, it's not really given for the league because even Lille won it quite recently as well, right?
well, that's true. That's true. Like, and and fair enough. I think kind of football is kind of come to the stage now where I think people are kind of realizing, yes, you can, if you have wealthy owners, you can literally come in and buy everyone you want, and you can have an expectation that you'll win everything. Didn't work for Man United. Isn't working for Chelsea. In terms of the big stage, hasn't worked for Man City. Hasn't worked for PSG. So what do you do, right? So yeah. But anyway, stories for another time.
Sure. Well, with that, just I think we're coming up to the hour mark, and just like to thank everyone for listening in. And do follow us on our other social media: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Instagram, Twitter. We're Milenistas360. So, Shane, anything else you want to add on before we?
No,
wrap
let's
it up?
just go out and either win 10-0 versus Spurs or just draw. But please do not lose by more than a goal, because that'd just be very embarrassing. So let's go for it, man. Hopefully next time we'll be talking about a ticket to the quarters.
Exactly, and it'll be a big game and more money for players. Hopefully, not for the stadium.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and as always, Forza Milan.
Forza Milan.
Italia!